I
Okay.
tested my idea at IIT Bombay and at St. Stephen's Delhi, and we found that 60% of the students in these two tier 1 colleges were not work ready. I had no idea that India had such a large work readiness crisis. And I think it's shocking to see that people are not A, learning the right skills in college, and B, not making that effort to intern or upskill themselves. Where colleges have improved is organizing a lot of extracurriculars, festivals, clubs, societies. I think that's where students are really learning. Like, I'm part of XYZ club. That's not enough. Are you heading the club? If you're not heading the club, don't put it on your resume. If you can lead not one but maybe 2 or 3 clubs on campus, that's a short way to get an interview at an MNC. There is a mental health epidemic on campuses where people are struggling with feeling insecure.
Is a Harvard MBA actually worth it? Is there any high potential but often overlooked job or career opportunity in the market as such? Can you actually achieve the American dream or the Indian dream at the age of, let's say, 35 to 40 by doing a job?
Jobs tend to be a little more cookie cutter, and they're a little bit more traditional in terms of, 1 year you're an analyst, then after 2 years you become an associate, then after 5 years you become a manager. In a startup, you can rise up very fast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 5th episode. I am Arnav Khandray, and today we are going to have the pleasure of hearing from an experienced, knowledgeable and widely successful woman. Shveta Raina is the founder and CEO of Talerang, a company which focuses on making graduates work ready. She is a TEDx speaker who has also been recognized as one of India's rising women leaders by the Economic Times and a woman of courage by India Today. In this podcast, we have covered a lot of topics which revolve around becoming work ready in India. We have also discussed resume building and various career opportunities for students in this competitive job market. My request to you all is to please take at least one learning from this podcast. So I will shut up now and let the professionals speak. Sit back and enjoy. Okay, got it. Talent and boomerang. That's how that name came in. Okay, great. So I'm sure there's a story behind that as well.
Absolutely.
Can you just go ahead and share that now?
Sure. So, when Talerang was starting, there were many names that came to our minds, and we wanted to do something that was really different and would resonate with Generation Z, which is your generation.
Correct.
People born after 1995.
Yes.
And at that time, what we thought is the boomerang was something that was trending, right?
Okay.
It had just come. And we realized that Gen Z is looking to enhance their talent, but they want to do it in a fun way. And so when you combine the word talent and boomerang, you get Talerang. Just like when you throw a boomerang, it comes back to you. Similarly, when you invest in your talent,
yes,
you get the returns. So the whole idea is that instead of investing in buying the latest iPhone or going for a Dua Lipa concert, if Gen Z invests in their talent, maybe they'll get the kind of return that they're looking for from life. So it's kind of a fun way of explaining it to them.
Got it. How did your journey for making India work ready begin?
Sure. So when I was about your age, I was in college in the US, and I had no idea that India had such a large work readiness crisis. But I personally was quite confused about what I wanted to do in the US. I changed my academic major almost 15 times and eventually decided on doing applied mathematics, international studies, and economics. I ended up doing consulting and banking, and those were my dream jobs. But a few years into that, I realized that even though I thought those are my dream jobs, they're not actually making me satisfied. What I really wanted to do was something in the social sector or the impact sector. So I moved back to India and I joined a nonprofit called Teach for India, which was just starting at that time. I was one of the first employees of Teach for India. And I actually helped set up the entire marketing, recruitment and selection teams and traveled to over 100 colleges to recruit teachers, or what we call fellows. And while I was doing that, I visited these classrooms and I saw that there was this huge employability crisis in India. So I had personally faced the confusion as a college graduate in the US, and now I was seeing on the ground in India that it was probably even worse here because, people were confused, but the colleges also didn't have proper placement cells to get them the jobs that they wanted.
Correct.
So I went back to the US. I worked with a professor at Harvard Business School. We did the research for Talerang. And and when I graduated, he said that, don't leave this just as a research project. Let's try it out and see if it works on the ground. And so that's essentially how it became a company.
Okay. Got it. So, how did Talerang, I hope that's right now,
Yes, yes.
yes, how did Talerang go from a research project, like you just mentioned, with your professor at Harvard, to, a full-blown business?
So essentially, we started off with a small grant from the social enterprise cell of the Harvard Business School.
Okay,
In those days, they would give you a little bit of money just to test your idea.
okay,
So I tested my idea at IIT Bombay and at St. Stephen's Delhi. And we found that 60% of the students in these two tier 1 colleges were not work ready.
oh, okay,
After this research, I realized that if this is the statistic at India's top colleges,
hmm.
imagine what the situation is when you go to tier 2, tier 3 colleges.
Correct,
So started off with a little bit of pilot funding, and when I graduated, we ran a marketing campaign
okay,
across. We shortlisted about 10 universities, and we said, "Do you want to get work ready?" Our
yeah,
tagline was "Academic brilliance is not equal to professional success.
okay,
Change this for you and get work ready." And we thought nobody is going to fill out the form,
yeah,
but within a day or two, we had 500 people who had filled out the application, and
okay,
these were all amazing kids from top colleges.
correct,
And they were all so hungry to learn, and they were willing to pay the fees as well. So
oh,
we
okay,
actually started with a cash positive, profitable business right from Q1 of Talerang.
oh, okay, great,
Because students of India are ambitious, they have a lot of
correct,
potential, and this program was helping them get work ready and also offering them internships at different companies.
correct,
And in those days, it wasn't so easy to get an internship. LinkedIn wasn't so big.
hmm.
College cells, like I said, placement cells didn't exist. I'm talking about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So it was very new. And because they were willing to pay the fees, I started hiring people. We ran more batches, more batches. And then Deutsche Bank came to us and said, hey, you know what? We've heard you're doing this. What are you doing? Because the kids you train are really good. And we are not finding such people. Can you train everyone we've hired? So
oh,
suddenly
okay,
we got this project from a bank.
okay,
And after that, we were in business. Because I think once you get a company on board,
yeah,
it really validates your model. And
correct,
then IIT Bombay, IIT Roorkee, all of these colleges also said, Shiv Nadar, Ashoka University, they said, we are private, we can also afford, don't take one or two,
okay,
all our kids. So
okay,
IIT Roorkee spent, I think, maybe 4,000. I don't remember the exact number. Yeah.
okay,
IIT
okay,
Bombay was around 1,000. So, we started getting these bulk orders.
yeah.
And that's when the game really changed for us.
Okay, got it. So, while you were mentioning this, you mentioned the word work ready, and that was, in your tagline as well. So,
Yeah.
what exactly do you mean by, getting graduates work ready?
So there's a huge gap, like I said, when students graduate from college.
Yeah.
And there's two types of gaps. The first gap is the training gap, right? They
Okay.
don't have the skills. There are 21st century skills that are missing in the college education system today. Out
Okay.
of these 26 skills, 10 of them are competencies or soft skills, 10 to
Okay.
12 of them, and the
Yeah.
remaining 14 are hard skills.
Okay.
The first thing is training.
Yeah.
They actually need to know stuff,
Hmm.
real stuff, real world skills.
Yeah.
The second part is the mentorship. So
Okay.
once they're trained, even then people mess up. They don't know how to go to an interview, they don't know how to network, or they
Correct.
might get fired because of some rude email that they wrote to their boss or something like that. So,
Correct.
we're all immature when we graduate, right? I mean, people
Yeah.
are only 17, 18, they're basically kids. They need that little bit of professional mentoring, and that's very different from a parent telling you
Correct.
that beta do this. Because in India, there's a lot of the parents doing it, but that's not enough. They need a
Hmm.
professional mentor. And that's what we provide. So today, a lot of our students from our first few cohorts are sitting in an INSEAD, in a Harvard Business School,
Hmm.
working at a McKinsey, BCG, Bain, all their dream jobs, dream universities. And it's not only because of the training. It's because at every step of the way, when they've been at a crossroads, they've
Yeah.
been assigned a relevant mentor to
Okay.
help them take the right path. And
Got it.
that's really helped them at every stage to, move forward in their career.
Correct, correct. So, when you say, your students have, gone to their dream jobs, so what were they lacking before, when before your training? What were they lacking?
So the first, like I said, there are 26 21st century skills.
Yes.
Out of these 26 21st century skills, if I break it down into 3 steps, right?
Okay.
The first step is about knowing yourself. The second step is about preparing yourself.
Got it.
And the first step is about how do you prove yourself in the market.
Okay.
So knowing yourself means how do I actually fit into the work world. So I might know that, okay, I'm a fun person, or, I like eating at Gujarati restaurants or whatever I know myself in that. But where do I fit in the work world? And that is something that nobody can tell you. You have to discover it for yourself through trial and error. So we help them know themselves through different micro internships, different projects, where they actually get to learn about where they are and who they are as a professional. Do they want to work 9 to 5? Do they want to work weekends? Some people are clear, we don't believe in working weekends. Some people say we're willing to go do whatever it takes. Maybe they are the right fit for companies that expect, 24/7 work, etc. So, one is knowing yourself. What are you willing to do? And what kind of work excites you? You might be good at math, but when you enter an office and you're only doing data analytics work, maybe you'll be bored. Maybe you're a better fit for marketing. So every engineer doesn't have to go into engineering,
Okay.
So that's what knowing yourself is about. The second thing is preparing yourself, and that's where the training comes in. And many of them are grossly underprepared. So, people come to me saying, I want a job, I want to work in this company, but they have no idea about that industry at all.
Correct.
Right? You need to learn how to crack the interview, etc. And the third step is how you prove yourself. So prove yourself means that when you join the company, how does the company actually test your performance? By giving you small projects, by giving you small work, and also by looking at your behavior. Are you professional, etc. So there are certain tricks that that nobody tells them.
Okay.
In college. And we sort of groom them in a way that when they enter the workforce, they know how to make a good first impression. They know how to actually, make their boss happy with their work, right?
Correct.
Because ultimately the person writing your recommendation is your boss. You're not writing your boss the recommendation, unfortunately, right?
Correct.
So a lot of times we get confused. Like when I joined McKinsey in New York, I was like, oh, I don't like this project. I don't like this. But actually it doesn't matter, right? Your boss needs to like your work. So I think that is what we kind of explain to them, that in the first few years, you need to prove yourself. Once you prove yourself, then you can always demand that, okay, I want this, I want that. But you can't start demanding from, the minute you walk in, because at that time, they don't trust you.
Definitely.
So how do you build trust with your boss? All of that is what we call prove yourself. And it's a very soft and subjective thing, right? So we teach it through case studies, funny role plays, different kind of incidents that have happened with our own students, where someone maybe got fired in an internship, something happened, someone hated their internship and quit, and how did they then backtrack and get back on track. So giving them real world examples of what really happens and how do you continue to prove yourself, because you're building a professional reputation. That's actually not easy to do.
Correct. So you mentioned that, colleges miss out on a few tricks and tips, to crack the interviews. So I'm sure, students will have to go through your company to learn these tips and tricks. But, for our audience, can you just give us a bit of a, exclusive tip? Like, what is it that we need to crack an interview to get a good job?
So the first thing is obviously Google the company.
Okay.
A lot of people come to me for an interview. They don't reach the final round because they don't know enough about what we do.
Okay.
They think they are interviewing us. Like, they start asking us questions. I'm like, first let me ask you if you're even going to get the job, So I think there's a lot of, the main thing that colleges do is they teach them a lot of bookish knowledge. But not too much about industry and the real world. And where colleges have improved is organizing a lot of extracurriculars, festivals, clubs, societies. I think that's where students are really learning. Like recently, I attended an event at a college where students were almost in the final year, but they didn't have a resume. And I was shocked because, and many of them hadn't even done an internship. So colleges should actually make sure that students start doing an internship right from their first year, so that when they reach the final year, they've done 3 internships minimum. And when they graduate, they'll have something to talk about in the interview. So I think companies are looking for experience, they're looking for professionalism, and they're looking for practical knowledge. And also, I think a good resume, which I find is like majorly lacking in, the people at least that we see.
Correct. So what do you just a quick, your tip, like what do you look for in a resume? Like, is there something like, if you see this, it's directly a deal breaker? No, not this. So is there something like that you look for?
No, I think everyone has a story. We're looking for a good story. So what is your story, right? Are you passionate about marketing? Okay, what is your story behind that? What have you done to showcase that? We're looking for numbers as well to back it up. So you organized a festival. How many people attended? What was the budget? What was the impact? What was the satisfaction rating of the participants? What did the sponsors say about it? So I think just doing stuff is not enough. You need to do it well.
Correct.
And I think that's where the gap is. People are just doing stuff. Oh, I'm part of XYZ club. That's not enough. Are you heading the club? If you're not heading the club, don't put it on your resume. Honestly.
Got it. Okay, got it. So, I am in second year degree college myself, and I have seen, graduates who are now graduating. They enter the job market with, preconceived notions like, I'm going to crack this job, or, I'm going to make this much in this time. So, what is the reality? Is the reality just like this? Like, are they going to, does that happen? Is that easy actually, or it's difficult?
It really depends. I wouldn't say it's difficult. Perseverance does get there. When I went to the US, I didn't have any connections at McKinsey or Goldman Sachs, both the companies where I got a job. And everyone said, you're a foreigner. How will you get a visa? People were very skeptical.
Correct.
But I think with sheer hard work and perseverance and learning from my seniors about what is it that they're going to ask in the interview, how do I prepare, doing many case round interviews. For the finance interviews, there are books that you get. There's a Ball Guide to Finance. There's other books that you can buy. I think if you really work hard, you can get your dream job. And, my dream was to live in Manhattan and pay my own rent and live my own dream life. And I did that. So I think from my own personal experience, I wouldn't say that it's impossible. But yes, I mean, if you take it easy and you, like I said, if you spend more time in concerts than, preparing, then of course what you put in is what you're going to get.
Correct.
And, ultimately nothing is going to fall from the sky in your plate. You have to work for it.
What you sow, so shall you reap.
Yeah. Exactly.
Got it. So I know we covered this a bit earlier, but nowadays there is a kind of a debate going on between traditional skills that are hard skills and the soft skills. Nowadays people are saying that soft skills are more wanted by companies. So I wanted to ask you, what do recruiters and companies value most when hiring fresh talent today?
Okay, so like I said, there are 26 21st century skills.
Yeah.
Out of that, the 12 competencies that recruiters expect from you are what we call the soft skills. So those are things like self-awareness, life vision, communication, problem solving, the ability to work smart, the ability to actually make a first impression, the ability to do your resume interviewing. So all of these come under the soft skills. These are mandatory. Now, within the hard skills, you can choose any 3 that you're good at. So out of the 14 hard skills, we recommend students excel in one and then have 2 supporting hard skills. So for example, if they choose the hard skill as finance. Now, what are the skills that support finance? Research and analytics.
Yeah.
So they can do finance as a focus area in terms of preparing for the interview. But in case the interview has a research question or an analytics question, they should be ready for that as well. So you have to think of it as your primary hard skill and your ancillary hard skills that support that. So it's actually very, like our curriculum is copyrighted and it's extremely nuanced and it keeps getting updated. So there's no fixed answer. Today I'm telling you this is how it works. But tomorrow, there might be a new soft skill that comes in.
Correct.
Like now, a lot of people have asked us to add a module, which is called working in multi-generational teams. So you are Gen Z. When you join the company, suddenly your boss is 50 years old. right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, how are you going to deal with that?
Correct.
So, and there are a lot of newspaper articles that we read where, there is a Gen X person
Mhm.
commenting on something, and then all of Twitter is saying, we are not okay with it. But it's just a generation gap, because when
Yeah,
they started their jobs, there was a certain expectation. Now things are different, right? So I
correct.
think teach that as well. And that's a new soft skill or competency, which is how do you interact with people from in diverse teams, different ages, and also different genders, different nationalities. I think that is becoming a
Mhm.
very very critical skill today. So, like I said, it keeps evolving, and
Correct.
we need to just keep upgrading and going with what companies need.
Definitely. But, ma'am, I had to ask you this. Like, why is this happening in this generation? Like, there have been generational changes before as well. So, why does this generation need, a multi-model? Why do they need that? What do you think is the problem here?
So I don't think it's a problem. I think
Okay.
Gen Z is significantly smarter than the previous generations. That's what I
Okay.
feel.
Okay.
And so they believe in smart work.
Mhm.
And Gen X and Gen Y believe in hard work, right?
Correct.
So that's the main challenge. They believe in getting things done. They were born with the digital era with their cell phones, etc. So
Yeah.
they are used to things at their fingertips. They're used to instant gratification. They want stuff
Correct.
immediately.
Yep.
I mean, when I was in school, I don't think Google existed,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, Google came in when I was in my maybe middle school, but when I was in junior school, and today I have a daughter, and she
Yeah.
knows what Google is, and she's only 4 years old.
Oh,
So
okay.
times have really changed.
Yeah.
I can see how she'll say, "Acha, mama," then just Google it.
Yeah.
And so she's used to getting answers immediately. Whereas
Correct.
earlier, when we were in a company, we would have to spend so much time researching a topic.
Yep.
So I think that's the main change is the digitalization of things, also the digitization of things, and also the instant gratification.
Yeah.
Also, I think Gen Z is more privileged. Many Gen Z, not all, but some are more privileged than their parents. As a result of which, they have grown up with a little bit more security.
Okay.
So I think they at least many of them have a roof over their head. So
Correct.
as a result, at least in we see that they are a little more selective about the kind of jobs they want to do.
Got it.
Whereas like in New York, when I graduated, if I didn't get a job, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had to. I didn't have any option.
Oh, correct.
So
Correct.
I didn't have that mentality that okay, I can go live with a relative, or I was like, I have to pay my rent. My rent is this much. If I
Yeah.
don't earn triple or quadruple of that, I can't survive in Manhattan. So I
Correct.
think we have a very different mentality.
Okay. So do you think that mentality of yours, led to this breakthrough?
I think it definitely led to more perseverance
Okay.
initially,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's the only way to work. I do see youngsters who are extremely bright, and maybe they've joined, say, in the early stage of a startup, and
Yeah.
they've got an equity or they've raised funding, because in those days there was no concept of startups, there was no concept of funding.
Correct.
Um, like, I think the startup ecosystem has only evolved in the last 10 years in India.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And more so in the last 5 years.
Okay.
So I think uh, those opportunities also didn't exist. So we can't
Yeah.
really say that it's a problem. I think it's actually an opportunity for Gen Z to learn how to interact with different people from
Yeah.
different, parts of the work world,
Yeah.
and also
Definitely.
for Gen X to leverage Gen Z. Like my
Mhm.
company is Gen Z,
Okay.
and I find them to be extremely bright and very quick with everything.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. So, moving on, you talked about startups. So, startups, you talked about startups, and, when you look at someone's career, when they have no experience at all, like zero experience, when they're starting out themselves. So, in that comparative job market, can someone actually with zero experience get a job?
I think they need to at least do an internship.
Okay.
But
Got it.
after they've done an internship, they can get a job. And I think as long as they're willing to learn and they have the right attitude, I
Yeah.
think they shouldn't have a problem getting a job.
Got it. And nowadays, do you think that jobs are, better? They're better jobs in corporate level, or they're better at the startup level? Where do you think there are the most amount of jobs which are good?
So we have currently about 400 corporate partners at Talerang, and
Okay,
it's about an equal split.
got it.
So we tell students that it depends on what you want to do. Corporate jobs tend to be a little more cookie cutter, and
Okay,
they're a little bit more traditional in terms of, 1 year you're an analyst, then after 2 years you become an associate, then after
correct.
5 years you become a manager. In a
Yeah,
startup, you can rise up very fast. So it
correct.
really depends on the personality of the student and also how much structure they are willing to handle. Corporates have a lot of structure, they have a lot of bureaucracy usually.
Yeah,
And they do have certain expectations. Like in a startup, they might be okay with remote working, but in a corporate, nowadays, most corporates require you to go into office, which a
definitely.
lot of people don't want to do.
Okay.
So I think it really depends on what you're looking for, and
Hmm.
there is a job out there for everybody.
Okay.
Everybody is different. They need to find the right fit for them. That's what we believe.
Correct. Okay. So, coming to a job that there's a job for everyone out there, like you just said. One of the biggest challenges today is underemployment, and graduates are working in roles below their skill level. So, how can
Correct.
students avoid this trap?
So they need to start upskilling themselves right from the first year of college. They
Okay.
need to start doing internships early,
Yeah.
and they need to also do projects, live projects. Live projects are projects which you can do even in high school,
Okay.
unpaid projects with
Yeah.
companies, right? Where you actually get to do some kind of a small test of that kind of work. So, for
Got
example,
it.
in finance, the live project could be building a financial model or
Okay.
analyzing the flow. So, once they know the buzzwords, once they know things, people will hire them at the right level. Otherwise, what happens is they get hired in the back office.
Correct.
I've heard even MBAs are becoming Uber drivers in
Yeah.
certain parts of our country. So I think it's shocking to see that people are not learning the right skills in college and b
Okay.
not making that effort to intern or upskill themselves. Um,
Yes.
Even these upskilling programs that when they are offered by universities, oftentimes students don't take them that seriously. They think that okay, it's not for credit, so I won't
Correct.
attend.
Correct.
So only if the college gives you attendance, then people do it, which is what I've
Yes.
observed. Right
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
like etc. They were not allowed to sit for placements unless they had done the Talerang program. In
Okay.
Bombay as well, it gave them some credit if they did it. Then they got better placement marks. I mean, they have a point system.
Got
So
it.
if the university is smart about offering these upskilling courses, incentivizing students attend these courses, they won't be underemployed. I don't think IIT graduates are underemployed because they have all these programs in place for them and they have the incentives in place for them. But
Got it.
many other universities are not offering these programs, and their placement cells are also extremely lean. Like they'll have maybe one placement officer and they'll have 10,000 graduates. So I don't know how that ratio works. So then they
Correct.
just put like a factory into any IT company that's hiring in bulk, and that's what underemployment is.
Yeah. Got it. So, coming, looping this topic, how can, undergraduate students make the best out of those, 3 to 4 years that go in that degree college? As you said, that, internships, they should do internships and life projects. That's one. But, as you said again, that, many students just do it for attendance. And if they don't get credits, they don't want to do it. And then they'll regret it maybe later. So, what is, a very good step or something that they can do in these 3 to 4 years, or maybe in the last 2 years if they've missed out on the first one?
So one thing that they should do is they
Yeah.
should keep their grades up. I think a lot
Okay.
of people ignore their grades in the first year. And
Correct.
unfortunately, in India, grades is still a criteria for hiring
Okay.
by a lot of companies. So they must keep their academics up. They
Yeah.
must keep their extracurriculars up. And if they can lead a club,
Yeah.
like I said, being a member is one thing. But if you can lead not one, but maybe 2 or 3 clubs on campus,
Yeah.
that's a short way to get an interview at an MNC.
Okay. Okay.
So keep your grades up, keep your leadership skills up.
Yeah.
The third thing you can do is internships, which I've already talked about.
Yes.
And I think the last thing is keep yourself interesting. Like have a story, maybe learn a new thing, play the guitar or whatever your passion is. Keep that passion going. And that passion, if it involves giving back to society, that would be great. I mean, that would be ideal because I think in our country, everybody there's so many different disadvantaged communities.
Yeah.
And if we could actually make a difference for those who can take out time, it's not even about money. Even going for 1 hour cleaning Chowpatty beaches, helping people, right?
Correct.
So I think if you show that compassion, that passion, that desire to make a change, I think that is that secret sauce, which will ultimately go beyond the first 3 points, the academics, the extracurricular, the internships, and then the last one, which is the skills and interests on your resume. That is where you can really shine and you can really wow the interviewer.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned clubs, and if you're heading a club, that is a very good thing for you to do. So does that actually matter that much? So students shouldn't undervalue that. So
absolutely, it matters a lot because I think in a college, the closest thing to a corporate is a club, right? Because there are different levels, there are different events, there are different deadlines, there are team dynamics, there are budgets. So it's really great when someone is actively involved in a club or a society. So if you're involved in Xavier's, there's a festival called Malhar. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes.
So if you can, I'm not just talking any club, but if you can be involved in organizing something at scale, right? That really shows your ability to work with people, to delegate, to organize, to meet deadlines, to interact externally with people, raise sponsorship. So it just shows that you are work ready. I mean, there's no other way of summarizing it. And I think we've seen that actually, like with a lot of consulting firms as well. If you are running a club, if you're running a high profile club at your campus, you will probably get an interview shortlist.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. So, ma'am, what's your advice for someone, let's say, who is lost, who don't know what their career path is going to be or how their future is going to look? So, how can they find direction?
So, like I said, there is a step one, which is knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You have to actually do certain exercises or activities which would help you discover yourself. And that's not something that anybody can teach you. You have to do it for yourself. So I can't look at somebody's face and say, hey, you should join a bank, right? It doesn't work like that.
Correct.
You have to sit and do certain activities. So an example of such an activity that we would do with you is Ikigai, right? You would actually go through your Ikigai. What is it that you are good at? What is it that you are, that you would get paid for, etc., etc. Ikigai has many steps.
Yes.
And figure out what really is your Ikigai. So that's just one exercise. There are many such exercises that is part of our self-awareness module. We also have our own proprietary assessment. So there's an assessment called Work Readiness Aptitude Predictor, which we've over the years. And it's a percentile-based test, similar to the SAT, where you can actually compare to other graduates in India, where do you stand in different areas. And so you can take that assessment. You can do these activities. There's also an activity called Vision Board, which we do with students, where you actually visualize your future, make your bucket list. What is it that you want? So in a very creative and fun way, without being stressed, you can think about what you want to do with your life. And then we help you break it down. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So it takes about at least 3 to 6 months. So first you do the training, then you get the mentorship, and lastly you get an internship where you practice it and see that, hey, is this really for me? And if you like it, then you've got your answer there. If not, keep doing internships till you figure out what you want to do.
Got it. So, ma'am, you've done a Harvard MBA, right? So, is a Harvard MBA actually worth it?
Definitely. I mean, I think if you are a ambitious young person, there's no better place than Harvard Business School, because you meet 900 students just like yourself who come from all over the world. And you get to learn from really incredible young leaders who want to make a difference in the world. It's
Got
very
it.
inspiring to be with such people of high caliber. So for me, that was the biggest takeaway. Of course, the professors are also fantastic,
Yeah.
and Harvard uses a case study method to teach. So there are
Okay.
no textbooks.
Okay.
Each topic is taught every day through different case studies where you prepare and you imagine that you're the CEO of the company and the company is facing a challenge. What would you do? So
Correct.
through that, you actually get into the shoes of a business owner
Correct.
or entrepreneur,
Yeah.
and very exciting. I mean, that's the one classroom where I know you can't fall asleep. You
Okay.
have to be. It's literally like being in a reality show. And sometimes because
Okay.
there's a full discussion going on. The professors telling you now this has happened, this crisis has happened in the company. How would you deal with it? So it's really fun, and you also get to learn a lot. So I think, like I said, the peer group is excellent. The professors are great, and of course, the brand, speaks for itself. It's got a legacy of its own.
Yes. Got it. So, what are the three invaluable things you've learned at your time at Harvard?
So the first thing is definitely how to network with people, and I actually prefer calling it building connections because I think that just networking seems very transactional. But when
Correct.
you learn how to build a deeper, meaningful connection, which can last longer, that holds a lot of weight. So that's something I learned, and the way that they do that is through different events, different trips. Like we traveled to Iceland together, we traveled to Africa together, we
Okay.
traveled all over the world as a business school cohort in small groups. So you really
Okay.
get to know people
Yeah.
at a very deep level when you
Okay.
travel with them. And also, of course, the classroom interaction is so vibrant that you really get to see people's personalities. So
Okay.
that's one. The
Yeah.
second thing I learned was how do you actually break down a business model, right? So because I had gone to a liberal arts university in the US and I had done more of math and economics, I didn't have a business background. So I got to learn how to make a business profitable. And I
Okay.
think that's really important.
Got
And I feel like a lot of times today we see startups that might be valued at 4 billion, but they're making losses of 2 billion,
it.
And the math just doesn't add up.
Correct.
So basic fundamentals of business and how do you profit, even if it's a small profit, that's fine. But you need to ultimately make a profit, right? So
Yes.
that's something that you learn in business school.
Okay.
And I really value that. The
Got
third thing that I learned was how do you actually think about a long-term career for yourself?
it.
So initially, I started off with Talerang when I graduated. Then I revived that family foundation, which
Okay.
currently works with different state governments. It's called the Raina Education Foundation, and we're working with different state governments across India to get youth work ready from
Okay.
lower income backgrounds.
Got
So
it.
now, my career has evolved, right? From running a business to running a business and a non-profit. And
Yes.
now I'm also looking at getting into advisory roles. So
Okay.
I'm now on some advisory positions. One is at SNDT University, which is Asia's largest women's university.
Yes.
One is with my own college, Brown University in the US,
Okay.
as a young alumni advisor. So getting involved at a different level as you age, right?
Mhm.
Want to be growing your personality and your career in different directions. And that's something that business school, especially Harvard, teaches you. Don't
Got it.
get stagnated doing the same thing.
Correct.
Evolve yourself and keep pushing ourselves, keep growing through your career.
Okay. Thank you for that, short mini course from Harvard. So I'm glad that will help many people. So, ma'am, the traditional nowadays, even among my friends, I have seen that they are moving away from that traditional career paths. The traditional career paths like law, engineering, medicine, accountancy. They're moving away. They want something different, something new, something that is quick and gives them, quick profits and returns. So, is there any high potential but often overlooked job or career opportunity in the market as such?
I think working with fast growing startups is
Okay.
something that is a job, but it's still somewhat entrepreneurial.
Okay.
So, for example, when Nykaa started, right,
Hmm.
10 years ago, we had people
Yes.
at Talerang, we were placing there as interns.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
remember they hadn't even heard of Nykaa and they said, we've not heard of Nykaa, what is Nykaa, etc. But
Yeah.
today, that on their resume holds a lot of value. And if they
Of
got
course.
some, role at that time, it would have
Mhm.
evolved significantly and they would have gotten a leadership role. And I feel
Got it.
like that's something that we often overlook. So, joining
Okay.
a company that may not be a big brand,
Mhm.
but has a lot of potential and working with good people. I
Okay.
think that's really the secret sauce because you get to grow a lot, you get to learn a lot, you get a lot of ownership at a young age.
Correct.
And oftentimes you get paid in other ways. You get paid through your network, you get paid through the equity. Maybe you might get some sweat, stock options, some sweat equity, depending on
Correct.
what your role is.
Yeah.
And that could really, be huge. Like if you
Correct.
see what's happening now with, some of these Zepto and some of these
Yes.
startups, young
Yeah.
people have join them.
Correct.
Even people at Swiggy, I think not just the founders, but even the early employees
Mhm.
have done well once it IPO'd. And same at Nykaa.
Yes. Okay. So fast growing startups is the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if someone listening today, let's say, wanted to take one immediate action to improve their employability, what would you recommend?
Call Talerang.
Okay. I'm sure that will help them. But apart from them, what would that be?
I would say make their resume
Okay.
and LinkedIn profile.
Got it. Okay. That's it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Great. So that will actually boost your employability up.
absolutely. And make an excellent resume and an excellent LinkedIn profile.
Done, done. Okay. And does the follower count or something like that matter on LinkedIn, or it's just the posts and your experiences?
I think it's the post, your experiences, and also your voice.
Okay, got it. Yes. So, you might have heard about the American dream and the Indian dream. So, can you actually achieve the American dream or the Indian dream at the age of, let's say, 35 to 40 by doing a job?
You could. So there
Okay.
are people who, are today from my year at Harvard Business School. Today, somebody is say heading the Meta UK entire UK business. Right.
Okay.
There are people who are, one of the first employees at say Oyo Rooms.
Yeah.
So there are people who are in exciting roles, but in a corporate you do have to follow the protocols, you have to work the hours, you have to follow their way of doing things. So as long as you're willing to adjust
Mhm.
to that environment, you can achieve that dream. And I mean, you if you look at someone like a Narayan Murthy,
Yeah.
he's all his early employees at Infosys
Mhm.
have done so well, right?
Yes.
So I think you can achieve that. And Infosys is an example of the Indian dream. Swiggy
Correct.
is an example of the Indian dream. If you look at Kunal Shah from Free Charge, what he's done,
Yeah.
right? That's an example of the Indian dream. So I think there are many examples out there if you search for them. Even
Okay.
Falguni Nair, who was not actually, didn't start her company till she was almost 50, right? I think she was
Okay.
48
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
50 when she started Nykaa. That's very
Correct.
inspiring.
Correct. Got it. So, ma'am, nowadays, like I said, many students don't want to take that traditional route. They don't want to, study, get a degree also. Some of them don't want to do that. Find a job, work 9 to 5 and retire. They don't want to do that. They want to become millionaires by 25. So, are there any jobs that could actually achieve this, or is business the only path for them?
I think if you're an early stage employee in a fast growing startup, like
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, you
Yeah.
definitely can achieve that.
Okay.
If you're one of the co founders as well of a startup, or not a co founder, but like the head of sales, you could achieve that.
Got it.
If you work in a corporate job, might be difficult,
Okay.
but startups are becoming quite professional now, right? They are getting professionalized. You can also
Okay.
look at working in a global startup that is launching in India, maybe leading their India operations,
Correct.
something like
Correct.
that. And I think rather than measuring only the money that you're earning in that company, you should also measure the learning that you're getting
Definitely.
at an early stage. So till you're 23, 24, focus on learning and then start focusing on earning maybe after 25. That's what
Got it.
I feel.
Definitely. So, do fast growing startups actually, help you that much that you can become a
Definitely.
millionaire at the age of 25?
Absolutely. See, if you join a startup,
Yeah.
it's all about the valuation of that startup, right? So
Okay.
if you read the Economic Times, you must be seeing that okay, this company has raised X. The revenue
Correct.
might not even be existent, but investors might have put in a certain amount of money, as a
Yeah.
result of which they have a certain valuation. So
Correct.
suppose you have a certain equity in that company, and
Hmm.
when that company then raises the next round of funding,
Yeah.
you can choose to potentially cash out your equity and get an exit. So that's
Okay.
how people become millionaires at a younger age, when they cash out on their equity, when they sell to the next buyer. Um,
Correct.
I think a lot of people, they may not make billions, but they definitely could make millions by
Got
doing
it.
that.
So, ma'am, we are moving towards the end of this beautiful, podcast, and I wanted to ask you that where do you see yourself and Talerang in the next 5 years?
So that's a great question. So one is the foundation that I said we're focusing on now. It's called Raina Education Foundation.
Okay.
I see myself growing that to at least 10 states. So currently we're in 3 states,
Yeah.
but in the next 5 years, I want to be in 10 states.
Okay.
And I want to be impacting millions of students from low income backgrounds, getting them work ready.
Got
In
it.
terms of Talerang, I want to be working with the global capability centers that are coming into Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Mumbai, Delhi. So
Yes.
every year we have millions of graduates, and at Talerang we managed to reach about 500,000 in the last 10 years and get them work ready.
Okay.
I would like to do that entire number this year. So in our 10th year, I feel that okay, we've taken 10 years to get to 500,000.
Yeah.
In our 10th year itself, if we can do an additional 500,000 by
Yeah.
reaching out to these global capability centers who hire in bulk, we can reach 1 million people by 2025.
Definitely.
So not even 5 years, but this year itself, I feel that we need to really go for the bigger projects, bigger hiring companies,
Yes.
and focus on not just the front office, but also the back office, and work at a more mass level to
Correct.
get the nation work ready. So yeah, one is working with governments, and the other is working with larger corporates. That's what excites me now.
Got it. I am sure you'll reach your dream, and yeah, I hope you score that goal completely. And
Thank
coming to the end of this podcast, I don't want to waste your time as
you.
much.
No,
Yes. So coming to the end, what is one piece of advice you would like to leave the audience with?
I would say the most important thing today for students is managing their mental health.
Okay.
I feel that there is a mental health epidemic on campuses where people are struggling with feeling insecure about themselves. When I interact with even bright students, I feel that students are not confident when they should be. So
Okay.
I feel that Gen Z needs to be more proud of themselves, be happy with what they've achieved, be
Correct.
confident,
Okay.
and keep their chin up.
Yeah.
As through thick and thin, keep their chin up.
Yeah.
And if they aren't feeling good or not feeling balanced, get
Hmm.
professional help, because it's not a taboo in India anymore.
Okay.
That's what I always tell my students, that you need to first be feeling good about yourself. Only then can you be work ready. You can't go
Correct.
to office and perform
Yeah.
if you don't have that inner strength. So
Correct.
develop your inner strength, develop your inner morale first,
Mhm.
manage your mental health, and then only can you get forward and plan your career.
Correct. Correct. So that's it, ma'am, from my side. Thank you so much for doing this with me and taking your precious time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you so much.